So now what I'm going to do is turn it over to one of our keynote presenters. So we have joining us Dr. Jen Kim Montclare, who's going to do a presentation on gender perceptions of online university learning of STEM entrepreneurship. Dr. Montclare, thank you for joining us today.
So I'm actually a professor here in the NYU Tandon School of Engineering in the Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering program. But I've had a lot of experience with STEM entrepreneurship. And so I'm going to be talking about that and gendered perceptions of online learning based on the experiences that I have teaching a course. So let me see if I can move on. Okay. So I'm also the director for the Convergence for Innovation and Entrepreneurship or Institute or CIE. And our mission is to nurture the I2E or Innovation, Invention, and Entrepreneurship culture at NYU Tandon School of Engineering by creating this center that provides space, curricular, and extracurricular activities, and resources to offer opportunities and incentives to students, faculty, and staff to be creative and experiment and develop innovative ideas that may lead to startups. And as well as solutions to real world problems and skills. So that's the mission of our institute. And what, wow, it does advance. That's super crazy. So when we started this, we had to survey the landscape of STEM entrepreneurship within our School of Engineering. And there's a lot of things that were happening. And back in 2013 is when we started this. There were incubators, partnerships with the NYC EDC. There were competitions and funding for students and faculty, as well as through the TOV. Well, it used to be called OIL, now it's the TOV. And so there was lots of funding for startups. And then there's a design lab within our school where it was student led, where they would have these competitions and have these planning events and generate ideas to solve problems. And then there was student run clubs like design tinkering, all of these, all led by students within our school. But what was lacking was curriculum, right? Curriculum that could lead and funnel more of these students and teams into these programs. And so at the School of Engineering, we found that at the beginning, students are required to take this kind of design thinking course. And then afterwards, there's nothing left except engineering courses and required courses. And then at the end, most engineering students, if you don't know, have to do a capstone project where they have to do a senior design project on a particular topic. And so they have a design thinking in the beginning, they have a capstone in the end, and in the middle, there's nothing. And so what we decided to do was develop a course called Pre-Capstone Innovation Course. So this would happen in between their freshman year and their senior year. And the idea is it was designed for undergraduate engineering students in their sophomore or junior year. And it's aimed at preparing them for their capstone design projects. And then what else it does is that it provides the students the skills to identify important problems and crucial customer needs. So thinking about not only the problem, but who their customer is. So we developed this course. We had these goals. It was a 3-credit course, or it is a 3-credit course, and can be used as an elective. And the idea was that it would provide students with this multidisciplinary engineering training and so that they have tools to prototype, because at the end of a capstone in the senior design project, you have to have some type of prototype in the end. And so we said, we're going to actually train these kids so that they can learn how to prototype in different disciplines. So I'm a biomolecular engineering person, so I would teach biological circuits, for example, for these students. And then the second thing is it exposes students to customer discovery, where they are able to think about the customer. And there's been studies where the NSF, the National Science Foundation, use what is called the Lean Launchpad process, of which we actually integrated into our course. And then 3 is that we facilitate these e-team formations so that they're teams that we build with the students around these multidisciplinary groups. So you can have a student from computer science, you can have a student from electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, and you can have them grouped together. And then the last goal is to prepare these students for innovative capstone prototypes and should hopefully transform them into commercial ventures so that they can then funnel into all of these competitions and things like that. So we had this start of the pre-capstone innovation course starting from 2017. This was venture well funded. We had hands-on in multidisciplinary labs shown on the left. And then at the end, we would have physical prototypes. So some of the teams are shown here. Each year the course is run, we ask them to carry out surveys as part of our venture well funded grant. But then the pandemic hit, right? And it was totally unexpected. And what was sad is that we were all in person, and because of the pandemic, we had to go to virtual. And so we went from in-person labs to completely virtual lessons. And it was a shock not only to the student system, but to us who are teaching the course as well. So, oh, sorry, this is super, I'm like delicately, okay. So, we started to look at the literature while this was happening. We were experiencing things as this was happening. And there has been studies already shown that with longitudinal data, first-year college students that demonstrate an increase in anxiety and depression, specifically correlated to distance learning and social isolation, and where the highest risk of increase in anxiety and depression were found in females and sexual or gender minority students. So we have this understanding in the literature that there's a bias on how distance learning impacts those who are underrepresented, who are women. Ooh, sorry again. It's like I'm trying so hard to press gently, ever so gently, and it keeps on just moving. Okay, and then so in terms of educational transition to online, there may be a lasting and gender biased impact, right? And that's just even pre-pandemic. And so this becomes more difficult to project the impact that it will have for the rest, like when we're in the pandemic. So we didn't know how it would impact those who are in my class or in our classrooms. And so, but we had these surveys that we were doing already. And so we could then in those surveys start to assess whether there were any gender variables or differences that were ongoing after the class had proceeded. And so that's what we explored because we were already studying just how this type of STEM entrepreneurship course would impact our students. So we had a research team. I had Dustin Britton, Sarah Thurmer, and James Perez. They were the people who actually helped work and study what was going on. And they are the authors of this paper that I'll be sharing with you. So, so first we wanted to look at the cohorts from pre-pandemic to pandemic. And we saw that we had a balanced gender distribution for our courses. So that, at least at the start, was the same from pre to current. And then we had our surveys, and we looked in our surveys and assessed what were the key kind of words or thoughts that were being expressed from males versus females. And so interestingly, the males thought that time management was an issue, but they had negative time management, but they had high personal development. In the perspective that we saw for our women students, they felt that there was reduced interaction, and they were highlighting that. There's reduced interaction due to this hybrid transition, right? Where we were in the class, we were working in person, and then when we went to virtual. So, what we found was, in terms of the climate as well, and whether the climate was good or whether the hybrid teaching was good, female students found that they were more negatively experiencing the online learning environment, and found that the educational climate was less conducive to learning. And they were expressing this through the surveys that we had. Moreover, female students found that the course was less stressful than the male students. So even though they didn't have issues with the stress, the level of difficulty of the course, they still had this other perception. They were less stressed, but they were unhappy with the hybrid learning and online learning environment. So essentially, the online learning environment could provide negative factors to their learning experience, meaning they were missing the personal interactions. And that's what we were learning from our students. So what do we do? Sorry. But so since we are interested in STEM entrepreneurship, what we wanted to ask them, and we always ask them, are you guys interested in doing startups? Because that's the whole objective of our plan, at least getting them towards that. And throughout all of the course offerings, from 2017 all the way on to the pandemic, females still have high interest in entrepreneurship. So they're still with us, right? And they're still wanting to do this. So that's good. That's what we were happy about. But we wanted to figure out how we can help, right? Because their perceptions of learning in that transition is super important, right? And so we want to be able to help them through. So, right. So females expressed a negative perception of interpersonal interaction and personal development. And these are qualities that are important in terms of a difference for online learning between men and women. And so what we decided to do is how can we help our female students, and how can we correct our course? So these are the things that we decided were important to do regular check-ins and meaningful feedback about their progress, so that they have that connectivity, because they thought, at least they felt, that there was a disconnect. 2, ask them if they understand and direct them to help if needed, right? Always try to reach out to them, and then ask for their feedback throughout. So that you as the instructor can get feedback and then course correct. And so, well, sorry. So yeah, so all I wanted to thank in the end is, all right, I did it. I'll drop my mic now and I'll just leave the building. So I want to acknowledge the people who had done the work. Dustin and James, who is part of the CIE Institute. They're both students and researchers in my lab. And then Sarah Thurmer was also a valuable collaborator for the work. And this was funded through the National Science Foundation I-Core Sites Grant, as well as VentureWell. And I thank you for your attention. And then you guys can go.